Welcome to the Art and Design department, and this webinar we're going to focus on textiles and fine art. We have only got just under 30 minutes, so what we're going to do is try and answer as many of your questions as we can. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask either department, if you would like to pop those in the Q&A section at the bottom, and then what we'll do is we'll work through those this evening. First of all, if we could just introduce the staff. I'm Vicky and I'm head of the art department, and I primarily teach on the photography course. Carol?
Hello, I'm Carol and I teach on the fine art course.
And Simon?
Hello, I'm Simon. I teach fine art and photography and I'm course leader for Art Foundation.
And we've got Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah and I teach on textile course, also foundation art, and now this year fine art as well.
And Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel and I'm another one of the textiles teachers and also teach on foundation and photography.
Lovely. So if I can pass over to Sarah and Rachel to talk a little bit about the textile course.
Yeah, do you want to go first? Or
So a little bit about the textiles course. So we look at a range of different textile techniques and processes, from screen print, monoprint, dyeing fabrics, stitch, fabric manipulation, and all of these different techniques you can go into a variety of different areas. So we look at interiors, fashion, costume, it could be textile art, wallpapers, and all kinds of different areas of fashion and textiles. We look at a lot of research, we look at the work of different artists and designers, and then we focus on whatever theme you've chosen for a project. We look at collecting primary research, so there's an element of photography skills in there, and then we look at all kinds of different drawing and mark making skills as well.
Yeah. Once you've done those basic skills workshops, we're then going to do 2 projects across the 2 years. So a component 1 that focuses on something that's personal to you within fashion, textile, costume area. And the second project is set by the exam board, where you develop a project and at the end of it make an outcome in a 15-hour exam. But you will have prepared and organised all of your work before that exam so that you know what you're going to do when you get in there. It's not a surprise at the end of the course. As part of the component 1, there is a short essay to write. It's like an evaluation of the work that you've done, but predominantly it's all practical work where you're using your practical skills to draw, develop ideas, design, and make an outcome.
Lovely. Hi, if you have just joined the chat, please can you just pop your questions in the Q&A? And now we're going to just pass over to fine art, so Simon and Carol. So Carol, would you like to start?
So fine art is about exploring your ideas through making something or drawing something and developing your own visual language. So in fine art, it's often about trying different ways to explore those ideas. So which way might best suit what it is that you're trying to express. So we use a variety of means to do that. So you'll do some drawing, some painting, mark making, video, sculpture, printmaking. So lots of different we spend a long time looking at lots of different processes and trying to develop skills in those processes, and then putting them together towards your personal investigation, where you choose what it is that you want to investigate and looking at different ways for you to realize those ideas. So some people take a process-led approach to that, so their ideas might be about something to do with painting, for example, or it might be that they have an issue that they want to explore. So it might be, for example, about the representation of women, or something to do with social media, or it could be something to do with a lot of people do things to do with animals. So it's your idea, and we're here to support you to try and find the best way for you to realise those ideas through the fine art processes.
Thank you, Carol. Simon, would you like to add anything?
Yes, so in second year, you'll be very much focused on doing your own project. You'll be leading with the project, and that could be very much focused on a subject area that you're interested in, using a set of media and skills that you've developed over the course of first year. First year is very led, it's very workshop based. We'll be trialing lots of different disciplines with you and assisting you in learning lots of new disciplines in first year that then you can take forwards into your second year work. There is a test, a controlled test at the end of it, which is just a 15-hour production of final work that's relevant to every sort of art area.
Lovely, thank you, Simon. If we can move on to talking about facilities and equipment, if I can pass back over to Textiles. So Sarah and Rachel, would you like to talk a little bit about what facilities and equipment we have on the textile course at QE?
All sorts of things. So as Rachel mentioned before, so we have drawing workshops. We do use SLR cameras to do photography. We explore things like screen printing, hand painting on surfaces, using sewing machines to stitch, to manipulate fabric. We use image transfer techniques. We use digital techniques using the computers and Adobe Photoshop. There's all sorts of things that we use in the course. And whilst we teach you basic skills in the initial stages, there might be something else. Say, for example, you're amazing at crochet and you want to bring some of that in, or you're amazing at knitting, you want to bring some of that in. We do a little bit of hand stitching and things like that. So there's all sorts of different skills that you can use, but it really depends on the artists and designers that you look at as to what direction you would be traveling in for your project.
Lovely, and I think that's answered Phoenix's question there. So again, about what kind of basic skills, we do have sewing machines that you can use if you are interested in doing machine stitch. Likewise with the hand sewing, as Sarah mentioned. So I'll just pop that as answered. Thank you for your question. Fine art, would you like to talk a little bit about what facilities and equipment students will have access to on the fine art course?
Yeah, sure. So on fine art, we've got a dedicated workshop where you can have things made or sort of make some sort of items like maybe stretchers for canvas. We use a lot of process-based stuff, digital SLRs. We do a bit of video editing. We've got well-equipped Mac studios where you can sort of produce digital work, computer work. We've got printing facilities, so you can do screen print, lino print. Really all the facilities that you would expect within an art department, we've got here in the fine art department.
Follow the QE art department social media. We often put the work that students have been doing on that after every session or during the session. So if you take a look at that, you get an idea of some of the processes that the students are working on.
Excellent. Thank you, Carol and Simon. If we can move on to looking at careers and progression. So Textiles, if I go to you first.
Yeah, so textile students previously have gone on to like a wide range of things, and I think what's important to highlight is that all the art and design and media kind of skills and processes that you use and learn can take you off into a range of different directions. So we've had students that have gone into like costume design, they might have gone into more like fashion marketing or merchandising, and so a little bit more linked to like your business studies possibly. We've gone, some students have gone into their own kind of freelance fashion work. They could have gone into like set design, and we've also had students that have done kind of like a curator, like museum and gallery curators. There's a whole range of different like careers and progression you can do across all of them. Textiles in particular, you can go into like surface pattern design, and that can be for fashion, gift, interiors, textile maker, which is more about products and kind of objects and things that you would make. It can be, like I said before, costume or set design, fashion designer, it can be pattern cutting, visual merchandising, kind of all sorts of things really.
Yeah, I mean, we have got, again, on the social media, A lot of our ex-students have profiles on there to say what they've done with their textiles, and the same for the other subjects in the department. But we've got some quite prestigious students in lots of good places. So we've got students, well, one's a senior designer for Tommy Hilfiger. I've got another student who set up a business and then started selling work to Liberty and Urban Outfitters, and she's now making outfits for Miley Cyrus. We've got other students who have set up sort of craft businesses, and they've gone off in like ceramics and small textile businesses. We've also got, I don't know if anybody's seen Jamie Campbell, who had his theatre debut. They made a musical about Jamie. Jamie went off to do fashion and costume, but ended up going into sort of wearing drag on stage. And he used his textile skills to make his outfits. But this musical's now been made into a movie, which is coming out in February. So students go in all different directions from textiles.
Thank you. What about university courses? So I know you mentioned about students going into different areas. Would you like to specify any kind of universities that students go to?
Again, we get lots of students travelling all over. So locally, a lot of students will head to places like Northumbria, Northern School of Art, and then heading out a little bit further, we have students going to Huddersfield, to Manchester. We get a lot of students into the London universities, but it depends what's right for that student and where they want to travel to, really. But studying all sorts of different things at university level within fashion, textiles, costume, fashion promotion, etc.
Lovely, thank you. And over to fine art. So again, a little bit about careers, progression, university. Carol?
Yeah. So with fine art is it's a very self-directed subject. So people who go on to university to study at a higher level at university, there are lots of different quite specialised fine art courses, but there's also very general fine art courses. And like any course, the best thing to do is to try and find the best fit for you. But we have some students stay local. There's really good courses around Darlington. So there's good courses in Middlesbrough with Northern School of Art and Mima School of Art. Then there's Northumbria and Newcastle. We have a lot of students go on to there. And then again, like as Sarah's saying with textiles, students, they go to Glasgow, they go to London. But often they do a foundation course, which is, as Simon's the course leader for that, which is between A levels and art education at HE level. And on that course, you can spend quite a bit of time trying to find the right university course for you. And then as far as careers goes, for fine artists, you can actually be an artist. You can be an artist that collaborates with other artists. You can go into education, you can go into curation, you can go into an exhibitions. You can use your fine art skills. They're very transferable to do a range of careers in the creative industries. And we have, again, as Sarah's mentioning, it's good to check out the alumni Facebook group and see what our students have done from quite a while ago to quite recently, and check out what their progress was. And I think with all the arts, sometimes it's not just a direct line from university to being an artist. I think the creative paths that people take is also really interesting, and that's worth checking out as well. And I think it's quite exciting that you might end up doing a career that you've not considered, or sometimes I've never even heard of the jobs that some of our students end up doing.
Thank you, Carol. Simon, do you want to mention a little bit about Art Foundation?
Yeah, Art Foundation's a third-year course, so it's marked at level 3/level 4. So you start the course at level 3, and it's finally assessed at level 4. It's a broad-based creative course, and it's largely aimed at preparing portfolio for progression. So initially, you'll cover all of the main areas, all of the main design disciplines, such as filmmaking, photography, graphic design, illustration, textiles, costume design, fine art, don't know if I've missed any there, but you will cover all of the main disciplines, and then you'll specialise in a subject area. So you'll choose a subject area that's best suited to your progression route, and you'll focus on that, produce a portfolio assignment within that subject discipline. Your final major project results in an open public exhibition at the end of the year, and that's assessed at level 4, which is kind of the first year of degree level. It's a really good course if you've got aspirational progression. So say you want to go to the top universities to study one of the arts or one of the creative subjects.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, would you like to mention a little bit about trips that we offer in the department?
Yeah, no problem. Over the past few years, we usually take students around February time on an overseas trip. And anybody can apply for that does textiles, graphics, photography, fine art, or art foundation. Obviously this year that's going to be slightly different, but in the future we will plan to do trips again. But we've been all over the world. We've done lots of trips to Europe, or we've done joint trips. So for example, we did a trip to London and Paris in one trip. That was fabulous. We go to Venice quite a lot. We've been to Barcelona. We've been out to, where else? We've been Rome quite frequently. We've also been over to America, to New York and to Los Angeles. And it's a really good opportunity to collect research for your project. We always time it so it hits around the time that the papers are released in second year for your A-level exam, but also in Art Foundation, it corresponds with the start of your final major project. So it's a really good opportunity to go and explore and get loads of information for your projects. We also have lots of local trips. So each of the subject areas will go to places like the Knitting and Stitch Show if it's textiles, or we've been to Beamish, to Manchester. It depends what's happening and what's on exhibition wise. And I know for fine art, absolutely, they do exactly the same and take their students away for day trips as well.
Excellent, thank you. And fine art, do you want to talk about any gallery visits and local trips and overseas trips that students will have the opportunity to attend?
Well, hopefully, again, with the current situation, not really sure what's happening there, but fine art fine art students are eligible to apply for those overseas, to go on those overseas trips. But apart from that, we've tried to go to galleries, internationally showing galleries, like we tried to go to Baltic, and we've been to the London galleries and to the Scottish galleries for a day trip. We go to the Yorkshire Sculpture Park. So we try to give students the opportunity to check out cutting edge contemporary art by internationally known artists.
Thank you, Carol. We've got a question in from Zara. She's asking about if she would have the opportunity to learn about animation. Obviously, there's aspects of animation within the graphics course, which is going to be the next webinar. But Simon, I don't know if you want to mention anything about animation within the realms of fine art.
Yeah, I mean, you can use any discipline you like within fine art. So like traditionally, fine artists have worked with things like painting and sculpture. But what we see more and more is that fine art students are using a lot of the digital disciplines to express their ideas. So as Carol mentioned earlier, like within fine art, you can use whatever discipline you feel is most appropriate to express your ideas. And if it sort of happened that that was animation, then you could devise a project that sort of was, you know, focused around animation. It may be that graphics would be the best platform for doing that, though it very much depends on your motivation for doing the animation. And obviously the thing that differentiates fine art from one of the design subjects is the kind of motivation behind it, whether that's a personal motivation to express an idea or a concept, or whether that's much more of a kind of design motivation. Certainly within Art Foundation in the third year, if you wanted to focus specifically on animation, if you were doing an Art Foundation course, you could very much focus your specialist projects on doing animation. Definitely.
Thank you, Simon. We've got some questions coming through, primarily directed towards textiles. So we've got Megan Sharp. Do we have to have done GCSE textiles in order to take it at A level? If I pass that over to Sarah and Rachel.
Yeah, so I'll do it, it's fine. In terms of textiles at school, no, we don't expect you to have it. Some schools offer it, some schools don't. If you have it, it's a bonus because you'll know how to use a sewing machine, etc. But we teach you everything from scratch. So there's absolutely no need to have it at GCSE in order to take it at A level. We will look after you, we will support you, we will help you learn those skills. And that's what the skills workshops are for, really, just so you've got an opportunity to build those skills before you decide what it is that you want to do for your personal projects.
Excellent, thank you. We've also got another question from Hannah, asking about what kind of projects that you would be able to do in textiles.
Yeah, so as we said before, the workshops start off where we look at a range of different skills, and we try to develop your workshop projects, if you like, from those skills into different areas to give you a little taster of, you know, this is what you could do if you went into like an interior design for wallpaper. This is what you could do if you go into fabric manipulation for fashion. So your projects can be, we try to give you like an idea of what sort of different themes you could do when you do your personal project, but we try and keep them quite open so that you can develop them to suit you really and your like kind of personal interests and your kind of style that you're developing throughout the course. So really the projects can kind of almost be on anything as long as you're looking at different textile techniques and processes within it and taking inspiration from whichever artists and designers you choose. So it's just about having that kind of logical order and making those links and connections to that final outcome that you're then going to produce. So it could be interiors, wallpaper, furnishing fabrics, it could be textile art, it could be more like fine art textiles, so if you're interested in doing you know, two art subjects even. It could be costume, it could be fashion design, it could just be like surface pattern and then suggesting it's for something else, so you don't even necessarily have to make a garment. It can be making samples that are then suggested for women's wear, men's wear, etc. So it's quite open, really.
Yeah, I would say in terms of theme, we try and give you some starting points to get you thinking. So that's often things like the natural environment, or we've had transport, or we've done collections. We give you a few different starting points just to get you thinking, and you brainstorm those ideas and come up with your design for your project. But whilst one might be using the natural environment for fashion, another might be doing it for costume, another might be doing it for wallpaper and interior design. So there is some flexibility in the choice of project. We wouldn't leave you just totally abandoned. You do get some support in helping make those decisions, but it does have to be personal to you and something that is of interest to you.
Thank you, Sarah and Rachel. Phoenix is just asking about whether the courses are free. I can answer that one. Absolutely. Yes, they are. And you would be expected to take 3 subjects at A level. Some students do take 4. However, that's only in kind of special circumstances where you've achieved grades around 8 and 9. So you've got to have a particular GCSE score to study more than 3 A levels. And also she's mentioned that if she's not planning to do textiles after, would she still be able to study the course?
Yes, absolutely. Students go in all different directions. I've had students going off to do history and geology. It's a creative skill and it's a coursework-based subject. So the advantage of having a coursework subject with academic subjects like written subjects, it's really nice to balance your time out. So if you want to do history, you want to do geography, geology, criminology, whatever, any combination works with textiles. So there's no right or wrong.
It's also sort of important to note as well, like if you look at what universities and employers look for in kind of different skills that they're looking for in people, you know, applying for jobs, it's often about problem solving and independence. And from all the art and design subjects, because they're so independent, it's a personal project. You're often faced with like, right, how am I going to resolve this problem? And it is personal to your project because yours is completely different to anybody else that's on the course, really. And so these skills that you learn from any art and design course are so good in a sort of variety of different jobs and careers afterwards, even if they're not directly related to art and design. So if you just have a love of art and design, being creative,
the skills that you're going to get from that are going to help you in most, if not all, career routes, I would say.
Excellent, thank you. We've got a question from Lily. So would you like to talk a little bit more about how the exam unit, so the component 2 structured? So she's just asked there, is there both exam and coursework involved? But obviously it's not an exam. So I'll pass that over to Textiles again.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the structure of the year, Lily, your first project, component 1, is all coursework. Your second component, which starts in the second year, in the start of February, that one, the exam paper is set by the exam board, but you have about 3 months of researching and developing your idea before you go into the exam. The exam is at the end of the course, it's 15 hours, and in that exam, you're going to make the thing that you've been planning and developing over a period of the 3 months before. So you'll walk into that exam knowing exactly what it is, what you're going to make, because you've done designs for it, you've sampled, you've tested, and you've used those decision-making skills in discussion with Rachel and I to sort of make your decision before you go into that exam. So you've got plenty of time.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah.
Actually, can I just add with that, there's no written exam. So those of you that have done technology at school, textile technology, you'll be used to doing written exams. There's no written exams with textiles at A level.
Lovely, thank you. We've just got another question through there. Will students still get a place on the course if we sign up just before the course starts, so June, July time? Yeah, well, I can answer that one, Phoenix. I mean, absolutely, you can apply at any time to study on any of the courses at QE. I mean, obviously, the sooner you enroll, the better. It gives you the most opportunity to, you know, gain a place. So places are capped at a certain point during the year. I mean, that's not until students come to formally enroll in September. So if you are interested, I would definitely put an application form through. But yeah, I mean, you can apply quite late in the year and you will still get a place. Yeah, thank you. And that is bringing us towards the end of this live webinar for textiles and fine art. And it's probably worth mentioning just a little bit about the subject sites. So on the subject site, so if you go onto the QE website, you'll see that we have an art and design site. And not only does it include textiles and fine art, it also looks at photography, graphics and art foundation, as Simon mentioned. We've just got a question pop through. I'm just conscious of time, so I'll just have a quick look. So this is from Laura. So do you have to have an interview to apply? And do we have to have a portfolio? Well, in terms of a portfolio, Laura, we would probably only ask to see some evidence of artwork if you didn't have a creative subject at GCSE. So it does give our entry requirements on the subject websites, and it mentions that an art-based subject is preferable. So if you haven't done an art-based subject at GCSE, you can still study the art courses, but we would probably ask to see some examples of work that you've produced at home or in your spare time. I mean, in terms of creative GCSEs, that can cover everything from your art and design subjects, design technology, also media as well, because there's a creative element to media. In terms of interview, it's more of an informal discussion, really. So it's not really an interview, but you will have the opportunity to speak to someone about your courses and make an informed choice. Thank you, Laura. Sarah and Rachel, we've got a little bit of time left. You just want to answer that very quickly?
Yeah, I've just seen it. I was actually starting to type an answer. So yeah, in terms of interior design, we teach sort of pattern surface design, which you can then put into context in a room situation. So say, for example, you design wallpapers or fabrics for interiors, you could illustrate that or use a computer and show how that fashion fabric, how that that wallpaper would be used in the room. It might be that you design something that goes on lampshades, on furniture, on cushions. You can show how that's used within an interior. You're obviously not going to make the entire room because we haven't got time, but you would show how your patterns and surfaces could be used in an interior setting. So if you were interested in interior design, textiles would be a great course to take for that.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, so just to finish off, that does bring us to the end of this session. So again, last thing from me is we do have a webinar straight after this one. So in about half an hour's time for photography and graphics, if you're interested in hearing about the other art and design courses that we have. And lastly, just make sure that you check out our subject site. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we hope to see you soon.